I watched my son's state championship game from a conference room in Los Angeles, thousands of miles from home. The December night had settled over Texas, but on the West Coast it was early evening. My colleagues and I had huddled around the big screen after a long day at the design studio, eager to catch the live stream. My son Tyler was the star quarterback for the Dallas Lincoln High Wildcats, and as a proud father, I wasn't about to miss this game, even while on an extended work assignment in LA. Tyler's team was locked in a fierce battle for the Texas 6A state championship, facing off against the Plano Lions. The lead changed hands with every possession, keeping everyone on edge. Each time Tyler threw a pass or scrambled out of the pocket, my heart pounded. Despite being a senior in high school, he handled the pressure like a pro. By halftime, the score was tied, and the few coworkers watching with me were cheering as if they had known him for years. I couldn't have been more proud or more grateful to have supportive colleagues who didn't mind spending their Friday night watching a high school football stream. In the second half, the Wildcats pulled ahead. With 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Tyler tossed a 40-yard touchdown, sealing a 10-point lead. As the clock ran out with a final score of 48-38, our little group in the conference room erupted in applause. I beamed, imagining the celebration back in Dallas. The camera showed fans and students storming the field in jubilation. I even spotted my wife Lauren in the crowd rushing toward Tyler. The sight of her made me smile wistfully. I missed her and Tyler dearly. Being away for the past 9 months on this architectural project had been tough on all of us. On screen, Tyler lifted his helmet and grinned as his mother threw her arms around him. Lauren looked radiant, her long brown hair falling out of its clip as she laughed and cried tears of joy. "That's my wife, Lauren," I told my colleagues, pointing at the screen with pride. Some of them had met her before we moved to Dallas, and others only knew her from photos on my desk, but I heard a few murmurs of admiration. She'd always been beautiful, a tall, graceful high school science teacher who could command a classroom and still light up any room she entered. I felt a pang of guilt just then. Lauren had wanted me home for the championship. I'd promised to try, but the project in LA was at a critical phase, and I couldn't get away. "Just a few more weeks," I had told her. "Then I'll be home for good." We'd been living apart too long. Me working on redesigning a downtown LA arts center, and her and Tyler back in Dallas. Thank God for video calls and texts to bridge the distance, and for friends like Kevin who had been helping out in my absence. Kevin Miller had been my best friend since college and was now the head coach of Tyler's football team. It comforted me knowing Kevin was around to look after my family when I couldn't be. On the screen, amid the on-field chaos, I saw Lauren pull back from hugging Tyler. She wiped tears of joy from her eyes. Suddenly, she wasn't alone. Kevin appeared, weaving through the crowd. I grinned. There was my old buddy getting his much-deserved congratulations for coaching the team to victory. He had his trademark confident smile and a baseball cap pulled low over his short sandy hair. Lauren turned to him, excited. I expected them to exchange a celebratory hug. They'd known each other for years, after all. What I did not expect was to see my wife fling herself into Kevin's arms and kiss him full on the mouth. The conference room went dead silent. My stomach dropped as if I'd been punched. On screen, Lauren's fingers curled into Kevin's jacket as she kissed him passionately for all to see. One of my colleagues muttered, "Oh my God." Another coughed and looked away, embarrassed to be witnessing this. I just stared, frozen, refusing to believe what I was seeing. That's my wife," I heard myself stammer quietly. The bitter truth of it crashed over me like a wave. My wife kissing another man, my best friend, in front of our son in a stadium full of people. I felt my face burn with humiliation. My heart hammered in my chest, each beat loud in my ears. Lauren and Kevin broke apart on the video feed, looking blissfully unaware of the spectacle they'd made of themselves. Around them, the crowd's jubilance had faltered into confusion. I could see some people whispering, others openly gaping. Tyler was just off to the side. Even through the grainy stream, I could discern the tension in my son's posture as he stared at his mother and coach. My hands were trembling. I fumbled for the laptop, hurriedly closing the browser window as if I could erase what I'd seen. In the reflection of the dark screen, I caught sight of my own face. Pale eyes, shiny with the threat of tears I refused to let fall in public. "Ethan, hey, are you okay?" came a gentle voice beside me. It was Maria, one of my fellow designers, who had stayed to watch the game. Her eyes were wide with concern and secondhand embarrassment. I realized the others had discreetly slipped out of the room, leaving just Maria and me. I tried to speak, but no words came. My throat felt tight. I stood abruptly, the chair scraping the floor. I I need some air, I managed to say. Maria immediately reached for my arm to steady me. I must have looked unsteady on my feet. She guided me out to the balcony adjoining our office floor. The Los Angeles night was cool. I sucked in a deep breath, willing myself not to break down. My mind was a storm of emotions: shock, anger, an aching sense of betrayal so physical it hurt to breathe. Lauren and Kevin, Lauren and Kevin. How could this be happening? Maria stood by quietly for a moment, then tentatively offered, "I'm so sorry, Ethan. None of us expected to see that. Do you want to talk about it?" I pressed my palms against the balcony's metal railing, the chill grounding me. Talk about it? How could I even begin? My wife of 20 years had just been caught in the act of infidelity, and not with some stranger, but with my closest friend. The man I'd trusted like a brother. "I don't understand," I muttered at last, my voice shaking despite my effort to control it. "She's not just cheating. She's doing it so brazenly, in public, where anyone could see, where our son could see." The humiliation of that fact stung me over and over. It wasn't only a betrayal, it was a public slap in the face. Maria nodded, her expression sympathetic and angry on my behalf. "It's unbelievably cruel. I know you've been apart for work, but that's no excuse for this," she said, struggling to find words that weren't too harsh. She settled on, "You deserve so much better, Ethan." I let out a bitter laugh that sounded more like a grunt. Better than a wife who makes out with my best friend on the Jumbotron at a football stadium? Yeah, one would hope. I wiped a hand over my face and felt dampness. When had I started crying? I quickly brushed the tears away, embarrassed. God, how long has this been going on? I wondered aloud. My mind raced through the past year. Lauren and Tyler had stayed behind in Dallas when I took the LA contract. We'd agreed it was best not to uproot Tyler in his senior year, especially since a great opportunity came up for him at Lincoln High with their football program, and with Kevin coaching there, no less. It had seemed like a perfect solution. My family would be in the same city as my best friend, who could keep an eye on them. I even felt grateful to Kevin for being around to help if anything came up. Home repairs, giving Tyler extra training, or just providing company for Lauren so she wouldn't be too lonely. What a fool I'd been. They must have been laughing behind my back this whole time. The thought made fresh anger flare in my chest. Maria's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then looked at me with hesitation. "It's my husband. I told him I'd be home by now." Will you be okay if I head out? I can stay longer if you need." I forced a tight smile. "I'll be fine, but thank you, Maria, really." She placed a warm hand on my shoulder. "For what it's worth, I think you're handling this with a lot of grace. If I were in your shoes, I'd be thinking of murder right about now." Her attempt at levity succeeded in drawing a faint smirk from me. Little did she know, violent impulses were already warring with my rational mind. After Maria left, I stayed on the balcony a while longer, gazing out at the blur of city lights without really seeing them. Eventually, the shock began to harden into resolve. I wiped my eyes one more time and pulled out my phone. There were several new text messages from Lauren. "Lauren, I love you and miss you. Wish you were here tonight." Lauren, "Tyler did amazing. The team won state," followed by a flurry of celebratory emojis. Lauren, "Call us when you can. I really want to hear your voice, honey." I stared at those messages, my blood boiling. How dare she pretend everything was normal? Was she mocking me, or did she really think I hadn't seen what happened? Perhaps she assumed the camera didn't catch her little display, or maybe she was in total denial. Another text popped up as I watched. From Kevin, of all people. Kevin, "We did it, man. Wish you were here to celebrate. Your boy was the hero of the game." It was almost unbelievable. They were both carrying on with the usual lies, acting like nothing happened. A red haze clouded my vision as I imagined them together, probably sending these texts while sitting side by side, laughing at me. I wanted to smash the phone to pieces. Instead, took a deep breath. Don't say anything that might come back to haunt you. That's what my common sense told me. I needed to be smart. Reacting in anger via text would only tip them off that I knew. If I was going to confront this treachery, I would do it on my terms, not theirs. So I tapped out a reply with shaking fingers. Ethan, me. Congrats to you both. So proud of Tyler. I'll call tomorrow. It's late here. Great job, coach. I cringed at my own cheery message, but I had to play the part a little longer. They needed to believe I was oblivious. Every instinct screamed at me to demand answers right now, to unleash my hurt and rage on them. But something stronger, a cold, burgeoning desire for justice, told me to wait. Just then, another phone number came to mind. Natalie Parker, an attorney friend back in Dallas. Natalie and I had gone to college together, and though life had taken us on different paths, we stayed in light touch over the years. She was the one who helped Lauren and me close on our house last year, and she'd always said if I ever needed anything, I could call. At the time, I thought I'd never need a divorce lawyer or a PI referral or anything dramatic, but now, I scrolled through my contacts until I found her number. It was near midnight in Dallas, but Natalie was a night owl. With a deep breath, I dialed. She answered on the second ring. Ethan? Hey, came her bright voice. Then it immediately dipped into concern hearing my silence. Is everything all right? I swallowed hard. It took everything in me not to break down as I said, Nat, I just found out Lauren has been cheating on me. With Kevin. There was a stunned pause, then a string of expletives I'd never imagined coming from polished, unflappable Natalie. You can't be serious. Kevin Miller? Your best friend Kevin? The one and only, I replied bitterly. And with that, I began telling her everything. The distance, the game, the kiss in front of everyone. The more I talked, the more reality solidified around me. My marriage was over, my friendship burned to ash. By the time I finished, my voice was flat and trembling from exhaustion. Oh, Ethan, Natalie sighed. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Cheating is bad enough, but doing it so blatantly, it's cruel. Her tone shifted into that confident lawyer mode I had heard her use with adversaries. Listen, tomorrow, I'm going to start drafting a divorce petition. Texas is a no-fault state technically, but evidence of infidelity can influence things like property division and custody if it gets messy. Do you have proof? You said it was on a video stream? Yes. It might be recorded or there were thousands of witnesses. Tyler saw it. The whole stadium saw it, Nat, I said, voice cracking on my son's name. That was another heartbreak in itself. How was Tyler handling this? Natalie exhaled sharply. Okay, we'll get statements if needed. For now, don't tip her off that you know. And definitely don't confront Kevin. Let me get everything set up legally. Also, Ethan, I have to ask, what are you planning to do? Her question hung heavy. She knew me well enough to sense the anger roiling under my calm facade. I leaned on the railing, considering my response under the neon glow of the city. I'm going to come back to Dallas sooner than they expect, I said quietly, and I'm going to make sure neither of them gets away with this. I don't know how exactly, but I won't let them just walk away after destroying my family. There was a pause. I understand, she replied carefully. Just be smart. For Tyler's sake and your own. Whatever you're thinking of doing, don't jeopardize your future. You know I'm on your side, but as your lawyer I have to say, don't do anything illegal. A humorless laugh escaped me. Illegal? Right now, I felt like nothing was off the table. But I respected Natalie too much to involve her in any vengeful scheming. I'll keep my head, I promised, not entirely sure if I meant it. Thanks, Natalie. And thank you for being willing to help with the divorce. Of course, I've got you, she assured. Text me when you're back in Dallas and we'll meet to go over everything. And Ethan, whatever you need, day or night, call me. Even if it's just to vent or cry or scream, I mean it. After I hung up, I realized I felt a small measure of relief. Telling someone, especially someone competent and trusted like Natalie, made the situation feel less like a nightmare I was trapped in alone. There was a plan forming now. Go home, handle the divorce swiftly. That was step one. But divorce alone felt insufficient. They, Lauren and Kevin, had shown no mercy for my feelings. They had laughed in the face of loyalty and decency. If I simply divorced Lauren and cut ties, they'd be free to continue their merry lives together. Possibly even openly now. The thought made my stomach churn. No, I wanted them to hurt. I wanted them to lose what they cared about, as they had made me lose everything I valued in one fell swoop. I returned inside and began packing up my things in the empty office. My hands had steadied now, moving with purpose. There were designs spread across the table, blueprints and renderings for the art center I'd poured countless hours into. Funny how something I'd been so passionate about just a day ago now felt utterly trivial. I picked up a framed photo I kept on my desk here. It was of me, Lauren, Kevin, and Tyler at a backyard barbecue last summer. We looked like one big happy family. I stared at Kevin's face in the picture, grinning broadly with his arms slung around my wife. Even then, too comfortable maybe. A surge of rage bubbled up. I nearly hurled the frame across the room. Instead, I set it face down and shoved it in a desk drawer. I couldn't bear to look at it. Before leaving, I penned a quick note to my boss explaining that a family emergency required my immediate return to Dallas. I knew he'd understand. I was one of the lead designers on this project, but I also knew I was replaceable. And at that moment, I didn't care if leaving jeopardized my job. Some things are more important. By 1 a.m., I was driving through the neon-lit streets toward my apartment to pack. My flight was already booked for the first thing in the morning. As I drove, adrenaline coursed through me and an idea, a dark, electrifying idea, began to take shape. I tried to push it down, recalling Natalie's warning, but betrayal has a way of awakening impulses you never thought yourself capable of. "Don't worry, I'll be smart," I murmured into the empty car, jaw clenched. "But I will make them pay, both of them." In the rearview mirror, a stranger's eyes glinted back at me, cold, determined, and unblinking. Chapter 2: Homecoming in the Shadows. Flying home to Dallas under the radar was surprisingly easy. Early the next morning, I boarded a plane with just a carry-on and my laptop. I hadn't even told Tyler I was coming. I wanted to surprise him. And more importantly, I wanted to ensure Lauren remained oblivious. According to her last text, she thought I'd be in Los Angeles for a few more weeks finishing the project. I'd even lied that our client extended the deadline, just to buy myself some cover. I arrived in Dallas by the late afternoon Saturday. The winter sun was dipping low, casting long shadows across the tarmac as I disembarked. I felt a strange mix of anxiety and grim excitement. This was my city, my home, yet everything had changed. I couldn't drive straight to my own house and hug my wife and son like I normally would after a long trip. Instead, I slipped through the airport with a baseball cap pulled low and my collar up, as if on some clandestine mission. My older brother Alan was waiting at the curb to pick me up. I spotted his black pickup truck and headed over, keeping my head down. Alan hopped out and met me with a crushing hug that I hadn't realized I needed until that moment. "Glad you're back, little bro," Alan said, clapping me on the shoulder. He looked me up and down, taking in the exhaustion and pain I must have worn plainly on my face. "Jesus, Eth. I'm so sorry about all this." "Thanks," I managed. No other words came. Alan seemed to understand. He tossed my bag in the back and motioned for me to get in. As we pulled away from the airport, merging onto the freeway, the familiar Dallas skyline came into view. The sight that once filled me with pride now only reminded me of what awaited. A broken home. I averted my eyes and focused on Alan instead. He was 3 years older than me and had always been the stalwart protector in our family. A retired police detective, he now ran a private security consulting business. If anyone could help me navigate the messy intersection of revenge and legality, it was Alan. "Have you seen them?" I asked quietly as Alan navigated the evening traffic. He knew I meant Lauren and Kevin. "Not in person," he replied, "but I've been doing a little recon since you called." His voice hardened. "I've got cameras installed around your house now. Don't worry, discreet ones. If that bastard so much as steps on your property, I'll know." So far, well, he's been over there a lot. His truck has been parked in your driveway almost every day and late into the night. I closed my eyes, trying to quell the swell of anger. My driveway, where I used to park when coming home to my wife, now occupied by his Dodge Ram with its oversized tires. It was as if he was moving into my life piece by piece. Alan continued carefully. "I also spoke to Tyler a couple of times. Not about the affair. I didn't want to put him in a tough spot. I just checked in, sort of subtly feeling out how he's doing. He seemed off. I suspected something was wrong even before you told me. Did you know he stopped coming by our place recently? Camilla was asking why he hadn't visited his cousins in weeks. Tyler adored my brother's kids and used to hang out there often. I didn't know that had changed." It made sense now. The poor kid was probably struggling with the weight of this secret, withdrawing from everyone. He caught them, Al, I said hoarsely. Months ago. He walked in on them, or something, and Lauren begged him not to tell me. He's been living with that burden all this time. My grip on my knees tightened. God, my own son was forced to lie to me to protect her. To protect Kevin. Alan cursed under his breath. Those selfish pricks. Using Tyler like a shield. He shook his head. The kid should get an Oscar for acting normal. Remember at Thanksgiving? They all came over to my house. Tyler, Lauren, even Kevin dropped in later for pie. Tyler seemed okay then. Maybe a little quiet, but I assumed it was teenage stuff. Meanwhile, damn, he must have known by then. I remembered Thanksgiving vividly now. I'd been in town for a short break. Everything had appeared fine on the surface. I even recalled giving a toast, thanking Lauren for holding down the fort and Kevin for being a good friend to our family. The idea of it made me feel ill. Well, Alan said, steel in his voice, we'll make sure Tyler's okay. He's a tough kid, but he shouldn't have had to shoulder this. He'll be relieved you know now. And he'll definitely be relieved you're back? I nodded. There was that at least. I could finally be here for my son, in person. I want to see him, I murmured. But we have to be careful. I can't let Lauren or Kevin know I'm here yet, not until I make my move. Alan glanced at me. And what move is that exactly? You mentioned on the phone you were planning something big. I hesitated. Saying it out loud would make it real. But Alan deserved to know. They took everything from me, Al. My marriage, my trust. They even endangered my relationship with my son. I'm not going to just divorce her and let them ride off into the sunset. I want them ruined. Both of them. My brother's hands tightened on the steering wheel. In the orange glow of the dashboard, I saw a fierce satisfaction in his profile. I was hoping you'd say that, he replied. Camilla and I have already been brainstorming. There are ways to do this, Ethan. Ways that won't land you behind bars if you're smart. He didn't explicitly mention anything illegal, but I knew Alan. He lived by a code of justice that didn't always align with the law's letter. And right now, he looked ready to go to war for me. I felt a swell of gratitude. I appreciate it, but I won't put you or Cam in jeopardy. Your family, he cut me off firmly. And you're not putting us in jeopardy. We're volunteering. Trust me. Camilla wants blood too. She nearly drove over to your house to punch Lauren when she heard. That brought a thin, genuine smile to my face for the first time in days. My sister-in-law, Camilla Lopez Shaw, was as fierce as they come. A former Marine turned MMA hobbyist and currently a financial officer for a tech firm, she balanced brains and brawn impressively. If Camilla was on my side, I didn't doubt she'd follow through on that punch given the chance. We soon pulled into the quiet suburban neighborhood where Alan and Camilla lived. The moment I stepped through their front door, Camilla rushed to embrace me. She smelled of citrus and resolve, and I realized I was being hugged by someone almost as tall as I am. She's got a couple inches on Lauren, who's 5'9". You holding up okay? Camilla asked, peering into my face searchingly. Her dark eyes flashed with concern and anger. A faint scar by her left eye, relic of an old boxing match, made her look even more formidable as her brow furrowed. I'm managing, I said. Better now that I'm here with you guys. In the living room, my nephew and niece, 8-year-old twins, were watching cartoons. They jumped up when they saw me and swarmed my legs with hugs, temporarily jolting me out of my dark thoughts. I forced myself to smile and respond to their excited chatter. Being around innocent kids was oddly calming. It reminded me that not everything in life was tainted by betrayal. Soon, the twins were scooted upstairs to play so the adults could talk. We gathered around the kitchen island, where a plate of cheese and crackers and a glass of bourbon awaited me. God bless Camilla. We spoke in low voices, formulating the broad strokes of what my revenge would entail. Step 1 was already set in motion. Secure evidence and ensure I had legal ground in the divorce. Natalie would handle that. She had texted me confirming she'd file first thing Monday, citing adultery. Texas allowed that as grounds, which could influence property division in my favor. Step 2, concurrently, was something more primal. Hitting Kevin where it hurt, literally and figuratively. I want him to physically suffer, I admitted, rolling the bourbon between my palms. I know that sounds savage, but I do. I can't stomach the idea that he walks around happy and whole after what he's done. Alan's jaw tightened. He deserves a hell of a beating. That piece of garbage put his hands on Tyler too, from what you told me. That alone makes me want to break his legs. Camilla placed a hand on Alan's arm, calming him slightly. Her voice was measured. We'll make him suffer, Ethan, but we have to be strategic. We can't just lure him into an alley and assault him without repercussions. That's a quick way for you, for us, to end up in jail, especially since you're the obvious suspect. She was right. Kevin would immediately suspect me if anything happened. And as a former cop, Alan knew how investigations worked. We needed a plan with an airtight alibi for me and any co-conspirators. At the time, Kevin got what was coming to him. I glanced at my brother. He had a particular gleam in his eye, the look he'd get back in his detective days when piecing together a case. You have an idea, don't you? I asked. Alan exchanged a look with Camila, who nodded. Then he turned to me. All right, hypothetically, say Kevin were to be attacked at a time and place where you could not possibly be the culprit, and say the method of attack was such that it left him severely injured, but with no proof of who delivered the blow. That might put him out of commission for a good long while, and he'd know why it happened. But he couldn't pin it on you. My heart thudded. You're talking about an ambush. Exactly, Alan said. One with a disguise and a very carefully planned timeline. We use misdirection. We make it so that multiple people in our family could conceivably have done it, but none can be proven, leaving the cops chasing their tails. A slow, cold smile crept across my face. It was a dangerous, perhaps deranged idea, and I loved it. You're suggesting a conspiracy? Camilla raised her bourbon glass. Ferguson 5 Texas edition, she quipped. Remember that old news story about family vigilantes? They're almost folk heroes now. I didn't know the reference, but I gathered the gist. I clinked my glass to hers. Count me in. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a spark of anticipation that wasn't dread. It was hope. Dark, vengeful hope that I might actually regain control of my life and serve justice where it was due. We spent the next couple of hours hashing out the plan. Alan pulled up a map of my neighborhood on his laptop. We noted the positions of street cameras, neighbors' security cams, typical traffic at various times of day. Kevin's schedule was easy to predict. He was still a teacher and coach at Lincoln High. On weekdays, he'd leave for school around 7 a.m. Often he'd stop by our house first, likely to pick up Lauren, or, I realized with a fresh twist of anger, to grab breakfast and a quick tryst if Tyler had already left for school. Tyler usually left home by 6:30 a.m. for weight training or student council meetings. Lauren left around 7:15 for first period. Kevin's own first responsibility at school might be later if he had a free period, which possibly gave them time. It made me sick to analyze their routine, but we needed to know the perfect moment to catch Kevin off guard. We pinpointed Monday morning as an opportunity. There was going to be a victory rally at the high school first thing to celebrate the championship win. Kevin would surely attend, maybe even be a guest of honor with the team. Lauren, as a teacher, might or might not attend, but she'd definitely be at school by then. The rally was scheduled for 8 a.m. in the school gym. Tyler would be there too, of course. The whole community would, which meant around 7:30 a.m., Kevin would likely be en route from our house if he stayed over Sunday night, or from his own place headed to the school. That's when we strike, Alan said, tapping a spot on the map. It was a quiet intersection a few blocks from my house. Here, it's a four-way stop, not many houses or none, with direct line of sight. If we intercept him as he's leaving Lawrence Place and turning onto Oakwood Road, it's ideal. He'll be maybe slowing at the stop sign. Won't he be in his truck? I asked. Yes, but even big guys have to get out and fix a flat tire, Camilla interjected, a wicked grin forming. I have a handful of roofing nails that say his truck might catch a flat around that corner. My eyes widened at her initiative. You have nails ready? She patted my hand. Sweetie, I told you, we were brainstorming before you even landed. I scattered a bunch of nails at that intersection this morning just to increase the odds. Worst case, I'll scatter more Monday pre-dawn. He'll drive over them, guaranteed. I was in awe. Cam, remind me never to get on your bad side. She laughed. As long as you stay loyal, you're safe, unlike some people we know. We then discussed who would actually confront Kevin. I assumed Alan would volunteer. He was strong, trained, and frankly itching for payback, but he surprised me. It can't be me, Alan said, or you. I have a record as a former detective, sure, but neighbors know me. You're the husband. First suspect. We need a wild card. I frowned. Who then? We're not hiring a hitman. Camilla folded her arms. We don't need to. We have Tyler. No, I said immediately, heart lurching. Absolutely not. I'm not involving my son in actual violence. He's been through enough. Ethan, Alan interrupted gently. Tyler wants to be involved. You haven't spoken to him yet, but I have, indirectly. Cam and I talked about it. He's furious. This rally, the entire celebration. He's pretending everything is fine when he knows what Kevin did to you and to him. That boy has a fire in him right now. If we shut him out, he might do something rash on his own. I opened my mouth to protest further, but Camilla touched my arm, her expression earnest. Listen, Tyler's nearly 18. He's an adult in a few months. More importantly, he has the most righteous motive of all of us. Kevin not only betrayed your family, he physically assaulted Tyler. If anyone has the right to knock Kevin's teeth out, it's your son. Just hearing that Kevin had hurt Tyler made me clench my fists. I hadn't gotten the full story yet of that encounter. I was waiting to see Tyler in person. But Alan had mentioned it based on what I told him from Natalie, which I had learned via Tyler's earlier hints. He leg swept him or something, right? I muttered, recalling the detail. When Ty confronted them? Alan nodded grimly. Kicked his legs out and knocked him down. Could have caused a serious injury. That alone would justify some payback. They had a point. Tyler deserved a say in this. Part of me rebelled at the idea of my son committing violence, but part of me, the primal part as a father, knew how empowering it might be for him to directly strike back at the man who wronged our family. Still, I was cautious. We'll talk to Ty, I conceded. If he's on board and understands the risks, then okay, but I won't pressure him to do it if he hesitates even a second. Agreed, Alan said. We'll brief him tonight. The final parts of the plan fell into place. Alan's security expertise would cover the alibi angle. He had a full suite of surveillance cameras at his house that we could use to prove we were all at his home Monday morning. In fact, he revealed something that made me marvel at his foresight. He had already started recording a routine of our mornings on camera. This morning, Saturday, and yesterday, he, Camilla, and Diego, Cam's brother who lived next door, had all worn distinctive outfits and gone through an early workout routine in Alan's home gym, deliberately in view of the cameras at specific times. Starting at 7 o'clock a.m., the footage showed all of them present and accounted for. They plan to do the same Sunday and Monday. We've got 3 days of footage showing the same pattern, Alan explained, and you'll join us tomorrow and Monday morning. The idea is to establish a consistent daily routine. All of us in the gym from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock a.m. I raised an eyebrow. All of you wearing matching outfits? Camilla smirked. You catch on quick. Yesterday was red sweats, today was gray. Monday will be black. Hood up. I let out an incredulous breath. It was daring, dressing everyone identically to the likely description of the attacker, if Kevin glimpses anything. It would make the police's heads spin with doubt, exactly as intended. So Monday 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, we're on camera working out, wearing black hoodies and sweats, I recapped. But in reality, at around 7:30, Tyler will slip away to intercept Kevin. Correct, Alan said. We'll have a gap in the footage for Ty, but on Monday he won't appear in our video anyway because he'll be at school early for the rally. So that actually covers him. He has a legitimate reason not to be in our morning gym video that day. And if anyone asks, Camilla added, we say Tyler left early for school activities, which is true. We just won't mention that he left even earlier than they think. The complexity of it all made my head spin, but in a thrilling way. We were constructing an elaborate lie, complete with video evidence and multiple conspirators, all to grant my son the time and privacy to assault Kevin without repercussion. It was bold. It was insane. And it just might work. One potential flaw nagged at me. If Kevin's badly hurt, the police will investigate hard. Won't they eventually consider Tyler as a suspect, if only because of motive? They'll find out he knew about the affair, maybe. Or Kevin might suspect him. Alan shrugged. They might. But as long as we have our alibis tight, they can't prove anything. Even if Kevin points the finger at you or Tyler, Evidence wins in court, not gut feelings. Right now, Kevin probably assumes you're still in LA. He'll likely accuse you first. When he finds out you were back in Dallas, he'll think it had to be Ethan. But then he'll learn about our security footage and witnesses that put you at my house. He'll sputter and say, then it was the son. And we'll show Tyler was at school, in photos, accounted for, etc. Then maybe he'll say, the brother did it, or the brother's wife. And the cops will say, make up your mind, it could be any of them or none, we have no proof. Camilla finished with a satisfied smile. I took a long sip of bourbon. It was all coming together in my mind's eye. We'd not only hurt Kevin, we'd drive the investigators crazy and likely embarrass Kevin in the process, as he'd effectively have to admit he was attacked because he was sleeping with a married woman. That wouldn't garner him much sympathy even from law enforcement. After that, I murmured, he'll be ruined. If he's hurt badly enough, he can't coach. And if word gets out about the affair, the school could fire them both for unprofessional conduct. Morals clause or something. Oh, they will, Camilla said confidently. I've already sent an anonymous tip to the school board about a possible inappropriate relationship between a coach and a teacher that affected a student. They'll investigate quietly. If Kevin and Lauren were smart, they'd already resigned. But my guess is they think they're untouchable or that no one will expose them beyond what happened at the game. I shook my head in disbelief. My family had mobilized like an elite tactical unit. I felt an overwhelming gratitude tempered by sorrow that any of this was necessary. We'll get through this, Ethan, Alan said as if reading my thoughts. He put a hand on my shoulder. Your life isn't over. They haven't won. In fact, by the time we're done, they'll be the ones with nothing. No reconciliation, I said quietly, echoing a thought that had solidified on the plane ride. I know some betrayed spouses eventually forgive or try to salvage things. Not me. Lauren made her choice. She can live with it. Alone, preferably. Camilla gave a firm nod of approval. Damn right. The doorbell rang then. I tensed. An unexpected visitor was not part of our secret homecoming plan, but Alan raised a calming hand. Relax. That'll be Tyler. My heart skipped. Tyler, my son. I hadn't even told him I was coming. Alan must have arranged for him to drop by. The thought that I was about to see him, after all these painful revelations. I suddenly felt nervous. Would he be angry at me for not being there sooner? Relieved? Ashamed? There was no reason for him to feel ashamed, but I worried he might, having kept the secret. I walked to the door and opened it. There stood Tyler, tall and strong in his Wildcats Letterman jacket, his dark hair tousled from the chilly evening breeze. For a split second, he just stared at me, as if disbelieving. Then his face crumpled, with joy, with anguish I wasn't sure, and he surged forward into my arms. I hugged him tightly. You're here, Dad, he choked out, voice muffled against my shoulder. You're really here. I'm here, son, I whispered, my throat tight. I blinked back tears as I held him, feeling the tremors in his body. He was a young man, an athlete, nearly grown, but at that moment he felt like the little boy I used to lift onto my shoulders who would cling to me after a scraped knee or a bad dream. We moved inside, closing the door behind us. Tyler pulled back and wiped his eyes quickly, attempting to regain composure. Sorry, he said with a shaky laugh. I've been waiting for you to come back. I didn't know it'd be today. I wanted to surprise you, I said softly. I'm sorry I didn't sooner. I'm sorry you had to handle this by yourself. His expression shifted to guilt and anger. No, I should be sorry. I tried to tell you, Dad, I swear, but I held up a hand. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. I know Mom put you in a terrible position. I heard how she begged you to keep quiet. She had no right to do that to you. My voice hardened without meaning to, and Tyler nodded fervently. It's been hell, he admitted. Pretending around her. Pretending around him. He nearly spat the word. I hate Kevin. I've never hated someone so much in my life. Hearing that sent a sliver of dark satisfaction through me. If Tyler had any lingering attachment to his coach, it was gone. Kevin had truly lost the boy he claimed to mentor. We guided Tyler into the kitchen where Camilla had already poured him a soda and laid out more snacks. Teenagers are always hungry after all. Once he'd calmed a bit, we all exchanged a look. It was time to bring him fully into the fold. Ty, I began, we've been talking about what to do, about how to handle Kevin and your mom. He straightened up, eyes flicking between us. Okay. I glanced at Alan. My brother gave a slight nod, letting me lead. I took a breath. I plan to divorce your mother. That's set in motion. There's no fixing what she did. Tyler's jaw clenched, but he nodded in understanding. I figured as much. She knows it too, deep down. She's a wreck, Dad. She acts like everything's fine, but I hear her crying at night when she thinks I'm asleep. I almost feel sorry for her, and then I remember what she did and I— He broke off, shaking his head. She should be crying, Camilla muttered. Actions have consequences. Which brings us to Kevin, Alan said. He leaned forward on the counter. Tyler, you've been wronged by him more than anyone. He betrayed your trust, insulted your father, and even attacked you. We're prepared to retaliate, to get justice in a way the law might not give us. Tyler's eyes lit with a fierce light. What are we going to do? He asked it not with uncertainty, but eagerness. I placed a hand on his shoulder. Son, what I'm about to propose, it's not something I ever imagined I'd say. We're talking about doing something illegal for a righteous reason, but illegal nonetheless. Tyler didn't flinch. He deserves it, he said simply. Whatever it is, I'm in. I exchanged a proud, sorrowful look with my brother and Camila. Tyler had the Shaw backbone, that was for sure. We outlined the plan for him step by step. The Monday morning ambush, the nails for the flat tire, the disguise, the quick hit-and-run assault that would leave Kevin unable to work for a long time. Tyler listened with an intensity I'd only seen when he studied playbooks or reviewed game film. When we finished, he exhaled slowly. That's pretty hardcore, he said, then a grim smile. But also genius. Dad, Uncle Alan, Aunt Cam, you really thought of everything. Your aunt was the brains behind a lot of it, Alan chuckled. And I guess I'm the paranoid one who loves cameras. Tyler turned to me, resolve etched on his young face. I want to do it. Let me be the one to nail him. His voice quivered with pent-up rage. You guys have done so much planning, and Kevin wouldn't suspect me at first. Plus, he's bigger than Mom. I'm probably the only one who can catch him off guard physically. He's not expecting me. He thinks I'm under his thumb or something. I looked at my son. 6 feet tall, strong from years of sports, but also 17 and never in a real fight aside from scrapes on the field. Could he handle confronting Kevin, who was an adult with some martial arts background? I remembered Kevin had boasted about taking karate as a kid, though who knows how proficient he truly was. It worried me. Noticing my hesitation, Tyler insisted, I know he can fight. He already beat me once when I was stupid and rushed him. I won't make that mistake again. I'll use a weapon. You said a bat, right? One swing and he's down. I can do it, Camilla chimed in softly. We'll practice tomorrow, Tyler. I have a spare aluminum bat. We'll go over your approach and swing in the backyard. Trust me, honey. After a few pointers, you'll drop him like a rock. Her absolute confidence made Tyler grin. Okay. He took a deep breath. This feels like justice. He hurt my family. He hurt you, Dad. Tyler's eyes glistened, but his voice was firm. I want him to feel what we felt. No, worse. I gripped the back of a chair to steady myself. I realized I'd been unconsciously hoping Tyler might say no, that he might act as the moral compass to pull me back from the brink. But instead, he was as resolved as the rest of us. Perhaps even more so, fueled by youthful indignation. There was no turning back now. Then it settled, I said quietly. Monday morning we do this. We hit him fast, we disappear faster. And no matter what happens afterward, we stick to our story and protect each other. Understood? Understood, my family echoed in unison. We spent the rest of the night finalizing details. Tyler would come to Alan's house Sunday evening under the pretense of spending the night with his cousins, a not unusual event. That would place him with us Monday morning to execute the plan. Alan arranged for his neighbor, Camilla's brother, Diego, to help indirectly as well, mainly by blocking his own doorbell camera that faced the street during the critical time, just in case. Diego was happily on board. He had been listening in for part of the conversation and seemed eager to stick it to that cheating scumbag coach, as he put it, since he considered us all family too. By the time I went to bed in Alan's guest room, it was well past midnight. My mind raced with anticipation for Monday and the thought of confronting Lauren afterward. I would have to see her. at least to let her know the divorce was coming. Natalie had suggested I don't reveal I'm in town until after filing, but depending how Monday went, it might become obvious. Whatever the case, I would not be reconciling or softening. Lauren's life was about to fall apart, largely by her own doing, but I wasn't above giving fate a nudge to ensure she faced consequences. And Kevin's life was going to shatter into pieces the moment Tyler's bat connected with his spine or knees or skull, wherever he chose to aim. That night I slept deeply for the first time in a long time, a dark peace settling over me with the knowledge that action was coming. In 2 days, our vengeance would unfold. The betrayers had no idea of the storm descending upon them. Chapter 3. Striking Back. Monday morning arrived crisp and cold. A thin frost coated the lawns in Alan's neighborhood as we put the final pieces of our plan into motion. Before dawn, Camilla drove out and surreptitiously tossed a handful of fresh nails at the intersection we'd targeted. She wore black leggings and a dark hoodie, blending into the pre-dawn gloom. Not that anyone was out at 5:30 a.m. to see her. By 6 o'clock a.m., we were all assembled at Alan's house and checking our gear. Tyler was dressed in black from head to toe, hoodie, sweatpants, and athletic shoes. He stretched his arms and rolled his neck, limbering up like it was a pre-game warm-up. I could see the determination in his eyes. He was focused, treating this like an important match. "Remember," I told him as I handed him a pair of black leather gloves, "don't take any chances. One good swing and then get out. Don't stick around to see the aftermath. We'll know it went well when we hear about it." Tyler pulled on the gloves and nodded. "One swing. Got it." I had opted to let him carry out the physical act alone, but I wasn't about to let my son venture to the ambush site without backup nearby. We decided that Diego, who wasn't as familiar to Kevin, would park his car a block away and keep watch from a distance in case of any unexpected complications. Diego, an athletic guy in his 30s, had even borrowed a black hoodie to match the rest of us. He joked that he felt like part of a caper crew. Meanwhile, at Alan's house, we needed to maintain the charade of our routine. Promptly at 7 o'clock a.m., the cameras in the converted home gym recorded Alan, Camila, and me entering in matching black workout clothes. We started our workout on camera, mostly stretching and some light calisthenics, enough to look real. At one point, Alan and I even sparred with boxing mitts briefly, giving a plausible show of exertion to anyone who might later watch the footage. My mind was not on the exercise, of course. It was on my son. Tyler had left the house at 6:45, driven by Diego part way, then hopped out with his bat to approach the intersection on foot from the alley. The plan was timed to the minute. Lauren had left home at around 7:15. We knew from a text Camilla got from a friend near our street that Lauren's car was seen heading toward the school. Likely she went ahead to help set up the rally. Kevin presumably would depart our house shortly after Lauren, possibly after finishing his coffee or whatever casual sin he was indulging in inside my home. I pictured him strolling out the front door, maybe even humming to himself after a pleasurable morning with my wife, with absolutely no clue that a reckoning awaited just a few blocks away. My grip tightened on the 10-pound dumbbell I was curling as part of the workout. I forced myself to inhale deeply. Stay calm, stay ready. At 7:28 a.m., nearly the moment of truth, Alan's phone buzzed in his pocket with a text. He glanced at it subtly where the camera couldn't see. Then he flashed me a quick smile. It was the signal. The text was from Diego. Nails did their job. Trucks stopped. I swallowed hard and continued a set of push-ups, heart thundering with anticipation. This was it. Right now, at that quiet corner, Kevin's large pickup truck was likely lurching to a halt with a punctured tire, and Tyler would be watching from nearby, bat in hand. Time seemed to slow in those next moments. I imagined it all in my head. Kevin cursing under his breath as he stepped out of his truck to inspect the tire. The street empty and silent around him. The morning still dim enough that streetlights still glowed. He'd see the flat, maybe notice one of the nails gleaming in the rubber. His guard would be down. He wouldn't think of personal danger, just the annoyance of a flat on an important day. Then, from behind a hedge or around the corner, my son would emerge like a shadow. In our practice sessions, Tyler had shown how quietly he could move. All those years sneaking for midnight snacks paid off, we joked. He raised the aluminum baseball bat, his hands steady, his eyes fixed on his target. One moment he was standing, and the next he was writhing on the ground or lying unconscious. Tyler, fueled by months of anger, put all his strength into that blow. In the end, Tyler decided to aim for the lower back, the area of the spine or kidneys. A strike there could cause immense pain, even long-term damage, without guaranteed death. The intent wasn't to kill Kevin, not that any of us would mourn him much, but to ruin him. 7:30 a.m. On camera, Alan and I were doing synchronized crunches now, which conveniently allowed me to face away from the lens for a moment and release a shaky exhale. All we could do was wait. 7:35. Alan's phone buzzed again with a prearranged text from Diego. Batter up. That meant Tyler had successfully struck and was on his way out, and Diego was heading to scoop him from the pickup point. The deed was done. A wave of adrenaline and grim relief washed over me. I fought to keep any obvious reaction off my face as I went through the motions of lifting a kettlebell. Camilla caught my eye and gave a barely perceptible nod. It took all my willpower not to grin savagely. Kevin should be lying on cold asphalt right about now, wondering what truck, had hit him. 7:40. Another text. Package delivered. Diego had retrieved Tyler and they were clear. I could finally allow myself a sigh of relief. The timeline was perfect. Tyler would be back at school before anyone even noticed he slipped out. In fact, at that very moment, hundreds of students and faculty were likely gathering in the gym, buzzed with excitement for the rally that Kevin was now definitely missing. 7:45. The door from the garage opened and in walked Tyler, still in his black hoodie, but now carrying a gym bag as if he'd just come from practice. On cue, Camilla switched off the treadmill she'd been jogging on and went to greet him right where our cameras wouldn't clearly capture, just in case we didn't want the footage showing him returning in that outfit. The rest of us kept working out, but I shot my son a quick look. His face was slightly flushed from the exertion and cold, but there was a hard satisfaction in his eyes. He gave a tiny thumbs up at his side, where the camera couldn't see. My heart soared with pride and dark joy. Tyler mouthed one word to me while pretending to tie his shoe. Got him. I closed my eyes for a beat, offering a silent thanks to whatever cosmic justice existed. At 8 a.m., we ended our workout on camera. Phase 1 was complete. Every member of the conspiracy had an alibi, and Kevin had been delivered a message written in pain. Tyler quickly changed into his school clothes, which we'd had ready, and Alan drove him back to campus, arriving fashionably late to the rally. If anyone asked, he could claim he had car trouble and caught a ride, or overslept at his uncle's. But as it turned out later, no one even noticed his slight delay. There was too much commotion. While they were gone, Camilla and I monitored the news and police scanners online, waiting for word of the incident. It didn't take long. Around 8:15, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number, likely a neighbor or friend who had my info. There are cops on your street. Something happened by Oakwood and 5th. Saw ambulance. You okay? I feigned ignorance and thanked them, saying I wasn't home and hoped everyone was fine. But inside I was elated. An ambulance, meaning Kevin was hurt enough to need one. Good. Then came another text, this time from Natalie, my lawyer friend. She had inside connections everywhere. Heard about an assault near your neighborhood. Victim is a male coach from Lincoln High found injured by the road. Thought you should know, followed by, where are you right now? I replied casually that I was with my brother at his house, which was true, and added a wow, really, about the assault. I could almost sense her suspicion through the phone. Natalie was sharp, but she wouldn't outright accuse me. She was my friend and my attorney. Just be aware police might sniff around. I'm here if you need me, she wrote back. I felt a pang of guilt for putting her in a delicate position. She likely guessed what we'd done, but she was offering support regardless. By 9 o'clock, the local news sites were already running a story. High school coach assaulted, in stable condition. The articles were sparse on detail, stating only that Randy Kevin Miller, 41, head football coach at Lincoln High, was found injured on a neighborhood street early this morning. Police were investigating a possible assault with a weapon. Suspect unknown. It noted that Miller had been taken to Dallas Methodist Hospital for treatment and that he was expected to survive. The school's championship rally had been cut short amid the emergency. I smirked reading that. Sorry, Wildcats. Blame your coach for missing the party. Not long after, Alan and Tyler returned home. Tyler had stayed only briefly at school, mostly to show his face and ensure he was seen by the principal helping out after the rally chaos. He even got himself in a photo with the principal for the website, which we knew could later serve as proof of his presence. As soon as he walked in, I pulled him into a hug. "You did great," I murmured. He hugged back tight. "It felt incredible, Dad. I know it's awful to say, but seeing him fall, I've never felt more vindicated." I pulled back to look him in the eyes. "Are you okay? He didn't hurt you at all." Tyler shook his head. "He never saw me. I swung as hard as I could at his back, just like we planned." He collapsed and screamed once. I think I heard something crack. He swallowed, but there was no regret in his face. I ran immediately. Diego was waiting just around the corner. We were gone before anyone came. I patted his shoulder. "I'm proud of you. You kept your cool and did what needed to be done." Camilla came over and high-fived Tyler like he'd just scored a touchdown. "MVP of the day," she declared, making him grin. Alan popped a bottle of soda. We refrained from alcohol in case police popped by, best to appear completely with it. "To justice," he toasted, raising a glass of cola. "To justice," we echoed, clinking glasses and plastic cups. It was perhaps not the most orthodox kind of justice, but it was ours. Our victorious mood carried us through the morning, but we didn't celebrate too openly or long. By noon, I knew I needed to think about the next steps, the inevitable legal fallout, and dealing with Lauren. The divorce papers would be ready for her soon, and I suspected that by now she would have heard of Kevin's misfortune. I pictured her shock and horror upon learning her lover was found brutally beaten. Would she suspect I was behind it? Possibly, but she thought I was still in California or en route at best. She might be in denial, more focused on Kevin's condition. On cue, my phone buzzed with Lauren's contact. I stared at it as it rang, my stomach tightening. I hadn't spoken to her since before all this. Briefly, I considered letting it go to voicemail, but no. I wanted to hear her voice, to take the measure of her despair. I answered, but said nothing at first. "Ethan? Ethan?" Lauren's voice was high, trembling with panic. "I'm here," I said flatly. I stepped out to the porch for privacy. Inside, the others fell silent, watching through the window in case I needed moral support. "Oh, thank God. Ethan, something terrible's happened." She was breathless, on the verge of tears. "Kevin's been attacked. He's in the hospital." "I heard," I interrupted, keeping my tone cold and unyielding. "They've been playing it on the news here. Are you at the hospital with him?" She hesitated, perhaps hearing the iciness in my words. I'm heading there now," she stammered. I can't believe this is happening. Who would do such a thing?" I almost laughed at that, a harsh bark in my throat. Who indeed? It took all my restraint not to unleash 20 years of rage right then, but I needed to remain composed. This call wasn't about comforting her. It was about establishing my own narrative. "Hard to say," I replied coolly. "Maybe some disgruntled parent or a mugger. Dallas isn't the safest city these days." She was quiet for a half-second, perhaps surprised by my lack of sympathy. "Ethan, I know you must be so angry at me, but please, I never wanted anyone hurt like this. Kevin, he might be paralyzed." Her voice broke on a sob. My heart did a strange lurch. Paralyzed. Tyler's swing had perhaps done more damage than intended. The thought of Kevin spending the rest of his life in a wheelchair elicited not pity, but a grim sense of fitting consequences. He'd taken so much from us, now something vital was taken from him. I'm sorry to hear that," I said without an ounce of true sorrow. "I hope he makes a recovery." Lauren openly cried now. "Ethan, I'm so sorry for everything. I was going to tell you, I swear, I was weak and stupid, and—" I cut her off sharply. "We'll have time to talk about our situation later. Right now, your priority should be our son. Have you spoken to Tyler today?" She sniffled, trying to regain composure. "Tyler, he's been avoiding me since this morning. He left the rally. I don't even know where he is. I think he blames me for what happened to Kevin. He won't even come to the phone." Good, I thought. Tyler had wisely been giving her the cold shoulder, likely to avoid slipping up or showing any strange reaction. "Our son's not blind, Lauren. He knows what's been going on. And he nearly lost a father figure today, one he probably doesn't know how to feel about anymore." She let out a wail. "Don't say that. He is blaming me. Oh God, what have I done? She dissolved into incoherent crying. I felt oddly detached, as if listening to a stranger sobbing. The love I once had for this woman was buried under layers of betrayal and hurt. In that moment, she was just the agent of chaos that had wrecked our family, now facing the aftermath of her choices. I'll be back in Dallas soon, I said after her sobbing quieted a bit. We'll figure out what comes next then. Until that time, Lauren, I think it's best if we don't speak unless absolutely necessary. Focus on yourself, and maybe pray for Kevin's recovery. There was a silence. Then, in a small voice, "You are back, aren't you?" "You're here." My pulse quickened. She'd caught that slip. I hadn't explicitly told her I was still away. She might have deduced from my tone or phrasing. This was tricky. If she suspected I was here, she might leap to conclusions about the attack. But also, if she found out I had been back secretly, that would further break her mentally. She'd realize I orchestrated quite a bit under her nose. I didn't confirm or deny. "We'll talk soon," was all I said. And then I hung up. I stared off the porch into the street, my hands trembling slightly. Not with regret, but with adrenaline. The power dynamic had shifted. She was begging and lost. I was in control. Behind me, the door opened and Natalie stepped out, phone in hand. I had invited her over now that the dust settled, ostensibly to discuss divorce plans, but really I knew she'd want to check on me given everything. She had probably overheard some of my side of the call. She folded her arms, professional blazer crisp as ever. "How's Lauren holding up?" she asked gently, though a hint of wryness slipped through. "She's a mess," I said. "Kevin's got a spinal injury, possibly paralyzed." Natalie pursed her lips. "I see." She looked at me searchingly. "And how are you holding up, Ethan? Should I ask where you were this morning between 7 and 8 a.m.? I met her eyes evenly. "Working out at my brother's home gym. The cameras can confirm it," I replied with a ghost of a smirk. A corner of her mouth twitched despite her stern expression. "Good. And Tyler? At school, I assume?" "There's photographic evidence of him at the rally with the principal," I answered calmly. Natalie sighed, shaking her head with a mixture of exasperation and reluctant admiration. "You're a damn piece of work, you know that? The whole lot of you." Then she lowered her voice. "I didn't hear this and you didn't tell me anything. Understood?" I nodded. "Understood." We rejoined everyone inside and moved on to practical matters. There was still a lawsuit looming, but not a criminal one. Not yet, at least. The police had no leads, the news said as much. Kevin, conscious in the hospital, had reportedly told officers he didn't see his attacker. He'd speculated it could have been a random mugger or maybe a jealous husband or boyfriend of someone he knew. Hearing that, Alan rolled his eyes. Kevin was probably too embarrassed to mention the obvious scenario of the husband of his mistress, since that implicates him in adultery publicly. No arrests were imminent, but we all anticipated Kevin's next move once he recovered enough. He'd want revenge through the courts if he suspected us, and if he was permanently injured, he'd need money. Sure enough, only 2 days after the attack, Kevin's family announced they were pursuing a civil lawsuit against multiple parties for the assault and conspiracy. By then, Lauren's affair with him had become public knowledge. Hard to hide given the rumor mill from the game and rally. It was a scandal. A teacher and coach having an affair that ended in violence. Both had been put on indefinite leave by the school pending investigation, effectively a soft firing. The lawsuit named me, Tyler, Alan, Camila, and Diego as co-defendants. Clearly, Kevin and whatever lawyer he found were throwing everything at the wall. They alleged we had conspired to attack him out of retaliation for the affair, causing grievous injury. They sought $10 million in damages. It was almost laughable. "10 million? Tyler snorted when we read the filing. "He thinks we're rich or something?" "It's punitive. They want to bankrupt us or scare us," Natalie said. She had agreed to represent us, all of us, which simplified things. She had fire in her eyes when she told me privately, "This is a shakedown. They know they can't win a criminal case, so they're hoping a civil jury might sympathize. We're not going to let that happen." And we didn't. Over the following months, the civil trial unfolded, and it was nothing short of dramatic. Kevin's attorney, a brash litigator named Roland Cruz, tried to paint our family as vigilantes who orchestrated a calculated revenge beating. He paraded medical experts to detail Kevin's injuries, which were indeed severe. A shattered L2 vertebra, nerve damage to his left leg, a ruptured kidney. Kevin would walk again, but with a cane, and coaching football was over for him. There was a little cross-examination needed on those points. We didn't contest he was hurt. But when Cruz tried to link us to the act, he hit a wall of reasonable doubt. Detectives testified that while they knew it had to be me or my kin, they admitted under oath they had no proof whatsoever. The security footage from Alan's house clearly showed me, Alan, and Camilla in the gym at the exact time of the attack. Cruz insinuated that we could have slipped out a window and back. He even suggested how one might pause a camera feed, to which Alan replied, "If I was smart enough to fake the footage, I'd be smart enough to delete it, not hand it to you." That earned chuckles from the jury. They brought up the neighbor's doorbell, Diego's camera, which conveniently had been blocked by a shovel for the crucial hour. Diego shrugged innocently and said he was doing yard work and got nauseous, so he left his tools out while he rested. It sounded absurd, but also plausible enough that you couldn't call it outright lie without evidence. The fact that all of us wore black hoodies that day, matching the description of what one witness down the street saw on a fleeing figure, was presented as clear collusion. Our lawyer, Natalie, countered by highlighting how common black hoodies are, and how none of that actually placed any particular one of us at the scene. But the most compelling witnesses were, ironically, Lauren and Kevin themselves. Lauren was called by Cruz as part of establishing motive. Her presence in court was painful to me, seeing her so broken, eyes red and downcast. Under direct questioning, she confirmed the affair and tearfully recounted how she thought I was still in California that week, and how it shocked her to learn I had left early and been in Dallas, unbeknownst to her. That revelation had made her have a breakdown, she admitted, which the plaintiff lawyer tried to spin as evidence I had secretly plotted something. Then Natalie cross-examined Lauren with a cold efficiency that left my ex-wife shaking. She got Lauren to admit she had no knowledge of any conspiracy, had never heard any of us threaten Kevin explicitly, and that her own selfish actions were the root cause of this whole situation. At one point, Natalie asked bluntly, "Mrs. Shaw, do you consider it at all possible that someone other than these defendants could have attacked Mr. Miller? Perhaps someone who simply hates adulterers or had their own grudge against him?" Lauren's hesitant, "I suppose so," didn't directly help us, but it planted that seed of doubt. But it was Kevin's testimony that truly sank his case. He tried to play the victim, describing how he fell in love with Lauren and regretted the pain it caused but didn't deserve what happened. He painted himself as an almost stepfather figure to Tyler and expressed shock and hurt that Tyler might be involved. Natalie then did something brilliant. She asked Kevin to define what it means to be a man, a reference to some story she dug up about a "play like a man today" sign he hung in the locker room. He rattled off some cliché about honor, responsibility, being someone people can count on. She let that hang, then coolly asked if seducing a friend's wife and betraying a young man who looked up to him fit that definition. He blustered, got defensive, admitted it did not, tried to justify that the heart wants what it wants. The jury's disapproving frowns told the story. They did not like this man. Then she cornered him with evidence of his own opportunism. Letters from college recruiters that stated his hiring was contingent on bringing Tyler along. It became clear his interest in my son's career was self-serving. When she suggested that he pressured Lauren to convince Tyler to change college plans for his gain, he lost his temper on the stand briefly, showing a flash of the ego and cruelty beneath. The final blows came when our side presented witnesses. Tyler, me, Alan, Camila, Diego, each of us calmly stating, or in Tyler's case, emotionally stating, that none of us attacked Kevin, but frankly we didn't have much sympathy for him either. We each, one by one, looked the jury in the eye and said some variation of, "If Mr. Miller is permanently injured, that is a tragedy. But we had nothing to do with it. We are a family that protects each other, and we will not apologize for despising what he did to us." At one point, Tyler bravely admitted on the stand, "I hated Coach Miller for what he did. I still do. But that Friday morning I was at school helping set up his stupid rally." Natalie played the video of the rally, the school news photograph of Tyler at the principal's side, as proof. The principal himself testified that Tyler was there. Cruz, in desperation, tried to claim Tyler could have slipped out briefly. But by then, the judge and jurors were tiring of his theories without evidence. In a bold move, Natalie ended our defense by having each of us answer the final question. Do you know who attacked Randy Miller? Tyler answered, staring right at Kevin. No idea. But whoever did, in my opinion, is a hero. The judge struck that comment, but the damage was done. A few jurors almost smiled. I answered, no, I do not know. But I wish I did so I could shake their hand. That one got gasps, and another objection sustained, but again, jurors nodded slightly. Alan, Camila, Diego all followed suit with varying colorful answers, essentially claiming responsibility in a tongue-in-cheek manner. It was me. I beat him for sleeping with my sister-in-law's wife, Diego quipped, causing even the judge to hide a smirk behind his hand as he told the jury to disregard the flippant remark. By the end, Cruz was fuming. His closing argument was angry and finger-pointing, whereas Natalie's was cool and succinct. The plaintiff has proven only that he is a man who made very poor choices and has suffered because of them. He has not proven that my clients did anything to him. They are here because he wants someone to blame and to pay for his misery. But you cannot rule on emotion or pity. You must rule on facts. And the facts exonerate this family. The jury took all of 45 minutes to reach a verdict. Unanimous. We were not liable. But to everyone's shock, they didn't stop there. They found that while they couldn't identify the attacker, they believed the act was provoked by Mr. Miller's own egregious conduct, and thus they awarded him a token sum, $100, essentially mocking the $10 million ask. $1,000 for actual damages and $100 for punitive. It was such a slap in the face to Kevin that when the judge read it, Kevin erupted, cursing the jury and us, having to be restrained by his lawyer. The judge threatened to hold him in contempt, but we were promptly dismissed. Outside the courthouse, we stood as free and vindicated people. Lauren, who had been watching from the back, she wasn't a party to the case, but attended quietly, approached our group. She looked at me with a mixture of hope and devastation. Ethan? She said softly. I held up a hand. Don't. Not here. My voice was not harsh but firm. She nodded, tears in her eyes, and stepped back. She had signed the divorce papers earlier without a fight, and we were officially done as of last week. There was nothing more to say. She had lost her husband, her standing, and her lover was now an invalid. She had truly lost everything but our son, and Tyler, though cordial for her sake, chose to live with me after the proceedings. So even there, she lost daily life with him. Lauren walked away across the courthouse plaza alone, shoulders shaking. Camilla muttered, I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. Tyler was quiet, watching his mother disappear into the parking garage. I squeezed his shoulder. You okay? He took a breath. Yeah, she made her choices. I love her because she's mom, but I don't respect her. That might change someday, not now. I nodded. Fair enough. I'd never badmouth her to him, but I wouldn't force him to reconcile either. That was his journey to figure out. As for Kevin, he took his $100, or rather his lawyer did, minus contingency fee. Kevin netted maybe $700. He promptly left Dallas, moving back with relatives in another state. No criminal charges were ever filed. The case remains unsolved. In the court of public opinion, he was scorned as the sleazy coach who got what was coming. There was even an anonymous online fundraiser that raised $20, presumably by someone with a dark sense of humor, to reimburse us for the damages payment and our court costs, which we donated to a local spinal injury charity. An ironic nod, perhaps. In the end, the betrayers lost. Lauren has to live with her guilt and isolation. Kevin lost his career, his health, and faced public humiliation. Tyler and I, meanwhile, grew closer than ever. Alan and Camila and Diego, our fearless co-conspirators, remained our rock. And Natalie, well, somewhere in the fire of this ordeal, something sparked between us. Late nights prepping for trial led to early morning confessions and eventually a relationship. A year later, we quietly married in a small ceremony with family. Who would have thought? In losing a treacherous wife, I found a loyal partner who had stood by me through the worst. Life has a way of balancing the scales. Some might say we went too far, that vengeance in our own hands was wrong. But looking at my son's smile as he heads off to West Point, yes, he stuck to his dream and is thriving. I feel no regret. We reclaimed our lives from those who sought to destroy them. We served our own brand of justice. And in the aftermath, we emerged not broken, but tempered, stronger, closer, and ready to design a new future free of betrayal. End.